All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show with a little 49er video as Adam Schefter has the latest on the Brock Purdy negotiations with the 49ers. We'll let you hear what Schefter had to say, and then we'll react to it next. But first, we are brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon and Mary, get some brisket, tell them that Krueg sent you. And this video is also sponsored by LearnKey Upskill Academy, an online learning platform designed to get you job ready in 6 months or less. That's right. They can do it, whether you're interested in IT, cybersecurity, marketing. It could be any high demand field. They offer over 30 different certification programs to help you take that next step in your professional career. We're all about helping our audience. These guys can help you. 37 years in the business. Over 200,000 students they've worked with. They place over 100 students per month in pretty well-paying jobs. So if you need to be a little bit more skilled in whatever your field is, LearnKey Upskill Academy, and the links are in the description for all of our sponsors. And we appreciate LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring the Krueg Show. All right. Adam Schefter. That's right. Shefty weighing in on Brock Purdy and the contract talks, and there's some interesting stuff in here, I think. So let's hear it. We'll share the screen and let you hear what Schefter had to say, and then we'll react to it. And it's some pretty good stuff. I think it's pretty good. This is Schefter, and of course NFL, ESPN NFL Insider. His credentials are well known. Adam Schefter weighing in on the Brock Purdy negotiations earlier.
Adam, we had been asking you for months about Brock Purdy's impending deal. The 49ers and Purdy get it done. 5 years, $265 million. Take us through how they arrived at this number, because we were all debating on what Brock Purdy would garner based on his resume.
Well, listen, I think there's a lot of ways to come to this number, and a lot of ways that they did come to this number. There were multiple meetings between the two sides, and I think Brock Purdy's initial asking price was north of $60 million. And he was not going to get $60 million. He was not going to become the highest paid quarterback in football. It didn't fit into the 49ers salary structure. And I think also there was the idea that, at one point in time, maybe the 49ers would have listened for Brock Purdy trade offers. There were no trade offers that came in. There were no teams that really expressed interest. And Brock Purdy's perfect for them, and he's perfect for them. Like, they're perfect for him. He's perfect for them. It just works. It's the way it should be. His value is greatest on that team. Mm-hmm. And that's a little bit why they didn't view him right now as this $60+ million quarterback. His initial ask price, I believe, was about $65 million. So it came down to $53 million in the end. And that's a fair number. It places him in the top tier of quarterbacks, not the richest, not the worst. He finally gets paid. He's making more per game than I think he made in his entire rookie contract now. So this is the way that it should be, and it was weeks of discussions and meetings, and finally they were able to put the deal to bed on Friday.
So there you go. There's a little Schefter weighing in on Brock Purdy and the contract talks. All right, so let's hit this. Let's talk about it. First of all, there were multiple meetings. I mean, what's that? Of course, there was multiple meetings. I mean, that seems like the way he said that, like he was really announcing something of significance to the world. There were multiple meetings between the two sides. So I don't know why that was interesting to him, but he mentioned that. And then, I guess what's the meat and potatoes of this little revelation? Okay, a couple things. One, that Brock's camp asked for, north of $60 million. This is what you do in a negotiation. If you really think about it, you ask yourself, anybody who's negotiating on anything, I don't care if you're negotiating on a sale of a car or a house or if it's a contract, anytime you're in a negotiation, you work back from what you ultimately want the result to be. So if somebody's offering, $300,000 for a house and you don't want to pay $300,000, you're not going to offer full price, right? You're going to offer $200,000, and that's no, how about 250? And then you go back and forth, and you settle at 233.30. So I mean, it's like you have to have a strategy, and I'm sure the Niners' strategy was probably to start with 45 million. And there was talk that maybe the Niners' initial offers were 45 million. So to me, if you wanted to get to the mid 50s, which is ultimately where Brock needed to be because that's where he belongs, you needed to start probably in the mid 60s. As the Niners are starting in the mid 40s and you're starting in the mid 60s, and eventually you wound up at 53 with lots of guaranteed money. It sounds like a pretty good negotiation where both sides give a little. So that's just, to me, that's not a big revelation either. That's just the nature of doing business. That, I mean, if you're Brock Purdy's agent, before you do anything, hey, I'm not taking less. I'm not going to take less than all these guys who are sitting between 50 and 60. If there was one of them that was between 50 and 60, it'd be one thing. But you had Tua, you had Goff, you had all these different quarterbacks in there. You knew he was going to sit in that range somewhere. Why? Because he's gone to a Super Bowl, and those guys haven't for the most part. I mean, Goff has. But almost all those guys, outside of Burrow and Goff and Hurts in the 50 million, north of 50 million club, including Prescott at the top, have never sniffed a Super Bowl. So you knew Brock was going to be in this range. And to ask for north of 60 million, once again, I mean, Schefter played that out like it was like a big revelation. I don't think that's a very big revelation at all. I think the bigger revelation would have been if he had said north of 65 million. Then that's like, oh, that's news. Brock Purdy's camp asked for north of 65 million. They didn't just want to reset the market. They wanted to reset the market and then some. They wanted to jump from over 5 million off Prescott's AAV of 60, right on past 61, 62, 63, 64. They wanted to go straight to 65 or north of 65. Now that would have been a story. That would have been like, woo, really? That would have been something people would have remembered. You know what? Brock Purdy, you asked for north of 65 million. To ask for north of 60 off the initial when you knew you wanted to get in the mid 50s is just called negotiating, because I'm sure the Niners probably came in with a $45 million offer, or a $40 million offer, or a $35 million. They came in with some super low ball offer initially, I'm sure. That's how this thing works. They go low, you go high, you guys somehow work it out, meet in the middle, you get to 53, and you're the 7th or 8th highest paid guy. So that's not significant. But I thought the most significant thing that lots of people will be talking about is that no offers came in on Brock Purdy. Now, the way this was reported, you gotta wonder. I mean, Schefter, this sounds like he got his source from the Niners. That's what it sounds like. Sounds like the Niners were his source. Oh, what? Are you telling me that Schefter called every team in the league and said, "Did you call on Brock Purdy? Did you call on Brock Purdy? Did you call on Brock Purdy?" I doubt that. Probably talked to the Niners and just said, "Hey, were there any calls? Did people try to trade for him?" No. We had no calls. We had no calls. But that doesn't mean that there's no interest in Brock Purdy at any price in the NFL. So I kind of, to me, that little revelation kind of makes Brock look bad. It makes him look like nobody in the league wanted him. And I think it's probably more from the Niners just saying, hey, did anybody show interest? No. But the Niners at no point in time, I mean, early on in this process, well before anybody would offer a trade offer, the Niners made it clear that he was their guy. Now, unless you thought they were lying, they either were lying, you know what I mean? Lynch said, hey, this is our guy. Shanahan said, this is our guy. Well in advance of, the owner of the team called Brock a top 10 quarterback, all in advance of when teams would ultimately have traded for him, probably during the draft. So the fact that they got no offers, is that because nobody wants Brock Purdy, or is that because everybody kind of knew that the Niners value Brock Purdy, and you're not going to get any kind of a bargain? And so if you're not going to get a bargain, why would you make an offer? But it plays like nobody wanted Brock Purdy. There were no offers. The Niners were bidding against themselves. Why did they go to $50 million? Because there were no offers for Brock. The other line in this that I thought was interesting, he's like, was Schefter saying what teams told him when he said, he's perfect for them, or is that his sense? And then, it's like, he makes the most sense for the 49ers. Well, why is that? That's like one of those things where if somebody's asked him to follow up, could he even verbalize why he makes sense for the Niners, where he would not make sense for fill in the blank another team? And also, I get the feeling that there may be, this vibe around the 49ers that Kyle Shanahan is such a good coach, and that the Niners have such good weapons that any scenario, or any scenario that saw Brock moving to a new team, would make him a lesser player, because he wouldn't have Shanahan and he wouldn't have those 49er weapons. But it's interesting because there's a lot of people that feel that Shanahan is the part of the problem. So, I think there's some of this, though, involved. I think there's some view of, hey, you know what? If Kyle Shanahan and those weapons, the way he looks in that system, he won't look as good in our system, because Kyle Shanahan's that good of a coach, because those weapons are that complimentary of what Brock does. I don't know. I think that kind of slights Brock a little bit, because it makes it seem like there's just some magic elixir in San Francisco, and that the system makes him. And that's the furthest thing from the truth, because the quarterbacks not named Jimmy Garoppolo were 9-29 in this system. So he's not being made by the system. I'm sorry. He's not. He's got real talent. He's got real quickness. He's got real accuracy. He's got real processing ability. His skill set is real. It's not a product of Kyle Shanahan. It's not the product of the Niners' weaponry. It's not a product of some magical system that everybody wants to talk about. This kid's good. He's a good player. He keeps his poise under pressure. He's got mobility, second level escapability. He's got the ability, and we saw it in the playoffs against Detroit and Green Bay, to make plays with his legs under duress with the game on the line. He's done nothing but produce and win for the most part. I mean, he had kind of a rough spell of turnovers late in games this last year, but there was tremendous pressure on him with everything, his kind of winning equation bogging down, as far as the defense, the special teams, the lack of weaponry, the lack of blocking in front of him. It all kind of it all manifests itself in those turnovers. Late trying to make a play in the second half of these games. But he's got to get his clock right. He's got to get back to being the Brock Purdy that took care of the football, that made really, really good decisions, and mix in that mobility and that athleticism and that competitive fire. And I think he is a top 10 NFL quarterback when you mix it all together. But I don't think this Schefter report, I think there's going to be a lot of people running with this going, you know what? Nobody wanted to trade for Brock Purdy, and the Niners paid him. They didn't have to pay him that much because nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted to trade for him. It's like, did nobody really want to trade for him, or did nobody make an offer because the 49ers made it abundantly clear that they loved the player and weren't interested in trading him? I think there's multiple factors at work there. And then ultimately, the negotiation is the negotiation. $53 million was pretty much fair. I thought he'd get $3 or $4 million more. I said 55, 56, just off of the market. I thought the market would drag him a little higher, but what he didn't get in AAV over the course of this deal, I was thinking he would get 120 to 140 million guaranteed, and he got 180 million guaranteed, 181 million guaranteed. So more guarantees, a little bit lower AAV, same ballpark. But these revelations today make it look like nobody wanted Brock Purdy. And I really think that if the 49ers said to everybody, you know what, we're willing to trade Brock Purdy, and he's available, they would have gotten offers. I mean, it plays like nobody in the league wanted him, but that's not the truth. I think nobody made offers because the 49ers sent indications that they wanted to keep Brock Purdy. And then once the owner says he's a top 10 quarterback, there are probably people around the league who are like, I like him, but I don't think he's top 10. And if the owner thinks he's top 10, that means that they're going to want a top 10 return, top 10, trade return. And we're not in the mood to give that for this player. So there you go. That's my read on this video. Love to hear your comments love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Give a like and subscribe on your way out the door. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueg Show. Thanks to LearnKey Upskill Academy for sponsoring this video. And thanks to all of you guys for supporting the Krueg Show on YouTube.